Well, hey there. How you guys doing tonight? My name's Mike, here with Showboys, joined with Chad and Nick. Man, I think I'm just going to keep it like this, We're just not going to mess with it. Nick's been overruled as the number 2 here. But
slowly just shifting into the producer role.
Yeah, we're here for episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett companion series. Really excited to get into this episode tonight. Lots to cover, lots to recap and analyze and break down and everything. But first, I just can't help but be super hyped after that intro song there.
Sorry for the beat drop. It just never happened.
Yeah, you have to wait till the end of the episode. You can listen to the entire track, which was made by our good friend SJT. All of his channel links are in our episode description. He was kind enough to let us use his remix of the Book of Boba Fett theme, which the link to that video is also in the episode description. So go check him out. Go give him a follow. Super cool dude, and he makes some super cool music. But yeah, Book of Boba Fett, episode 1. Let's just go around real quick. General thoughts and feelings and reactions. Chad, you go first.
I absolutely loved every minute of it. I can't wait for the rest of this show. The only downside I saw to it was it's just these episodes are a little short for me. That's my only downside. Same with Mando. They're just a little short. But outside of that, everything in the episode was awesome. And I predicted, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, yeah, they're definitely short. And like Mike and I have discussed this at length. Like the 30, a healthy 30 into the 30s, 40-minute episode would be very rock solid for these. But other than that, the episode's really good, and it does a good job at separating itself from Mando, but still being Mando-esque. And that's why I'm still going to lean into this whole Mando season 2.5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it a lot, and I couldn't help but see idiots on the internet being idiots about it. So
yes, we will definitely get into that. But yes, I would third what you guys say. I think the length is good though. I like this length.
It seemed long.
Really? I thought it was.
I didn't feel that way.
I didn't feel long, but I also didn't feel like it was too short either.
I'll agree with you, Nick. The first time I watched it, it seemed a lot longer. I just watched it again right before we started here, and it seemed like it was a blink of an eye and it was over. So
the rewatch was definitely faster. The first time through, I think I just was shocked at how close everything
right.
you predicted what basically everything we danced around the kickoff EP kind of just happened. I was just like, whoa. And there's so much of that made it seem long.
Yeah.
You're like, I feel like I've already watched this. So wait, no, we just listened to Chad talk about it. And but yeah, how crazy is that? My other part of my feelings, I thought it was a really great first episode. Pretty fun. But also like we've just kind of joked around about, Chad pretty much predicted, all the questions and predictions Chad made basically all came true in this episode, which is hilarious. The episode starts out with Boba Fett, just kind of chilling in his water pod, his little back pod, catching a little wet nap, I guess. And
I kind of need one of those things, man. They look like it's just so relaxing.
Yeah, it's just like the
deprivation chamber that heals you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get flashbacks here that we later learn are dreams that he has frequently, apparently, or had at one time. But we have flashbacks of Kamino, which was really cool. Yep. Flashback of him holding Jango's helmet, from the prequels, which was cool. And then it flashes to the flashback everyone, well, at least, we wanted to see, and Chad correctly predicted. However, I didn't think this was going to happen in the first 45 seconds of the first episode.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. I was like kind of walking the tightrope if I wanted to predict that it would be the first scene of the show, because I felt like it was like, here, let's be honest. I did make a lot of predictions that came true, but they're all like, I didn't pull anything out of left field, right?
Yeah.
It was all there, and especially the Sarlacc pit, it had to be told. You had to tell it. So
I think it was just funny that it was like the first thing.
Yeah, and then the second thing, and then
that's the weird thing about like this show and like Boba Fett is like they're all so obvious, but you don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to go about it. But they really kind of set the tone here, or at least cleared all that out of the way so they can now tell a story. And I was definitely surprised that they just got right to the jump there and we're just like, we're gonna do the Sarlacc pit, we're going to show him in the throne, the palace, and in basically his personal chambers. I thought that was really cool how they kind of did the pan shot of like the audience chamber, which is like kind of dungeony. But then there are these other parts of the palace which are a little bit more extravagant and nice.
Yeah, for sure. It almost looks like his pod is in a completely different building, like from the chamber you're talking about. But yeah, so after the Camino, the Jango's helmet, we find Boba in the belly of the Sarlacc. This whole scene was really cool. I like how he kind of frees himself and he looks over, turns his light on, and there's like a stormtrooper just like getting digested, which is
they're testing out those horror concepts with Star Wars.
Just like a real gross thought there.
Yeah,
but he like crawls his way through the guts and takes the oxygen line, gives himself a few breaths, and then just punches a hole through the Sarlacc and then ignites it with his flamethrower. And the next thing we see is him popping his hand out of the ground, crawling out of the sand. Super cool scene. And yeah, they answered everyone's burning question right there in the first probably minute of the episode.
See what you did there.
What'd you guys burning? I didn't even, that was totally unintentional.
Yep.
What'd you guys think of that whole the Sarlacc scene there? Play out like you guys thought it would, or
I definitely want to know that like it was very much dead by the time he crawled out of there, so he didn't just escape from it. He killed it and then crawled out. I thought it was cool. Obviously probably more than what some people wanted, and then maybe not enough of what other people probably want. They definitely walked the line there in terms of keeping it short and sweet. But I think it told that little bit of story that everyone needed and didn't at the same time. So I felt it was well placed. It's a hard thing to approach. Like that's just one of those things where you're not going to make everyone happy. Addressing that particular point. I did have issue though, and this is just in general, where maybe I'm just a little confused, but I assume it's pretty shortly after episode 6, right? When he fights his way out of the Sarlacc pit. They could have done a little bit of their magical de-aging they like to do and de-age him just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it would be confusing to anyone that's not really privy to the timeline that, oh, this is like days apart or weeks apart or even years apart. Like really, this is the present day and the flashback scenes are at least like 20 years apart. So
maybe under all of his crusty like desert Boba
dehydration
skin, he was probably a little younger looking.
Right.
All I could think about when in these desert scenes, when a baby is first born, like before, like I'm talking like first born before they like wipe it down and stuff. Like that's all I could think of.
That's what
it
looked like.
Boba is just straight up got that baby crust on him.
That's exactly what it looked like.
But yeah, that's a good point, Nick. And also like, I mean, I feel like anyone watching this show has to have seen like episode 6. right? Or else they would just be really confused.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I don't know that you need to set up too much of the background there because like I said, it's been how many years since that movie came out? If you haven't seen it yet, you're probably not going to see it, so they're just going to move forward without you. So I while I like the Sarlacc pit, it was a little short, like you guys said. But I like the imagery in it. I like the stormtrooper. The oxygen thing was cool. I would have liked to see him jetpack out of it like he does in the comics. I thought that would have been a little bit cooler of a way to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did seem like it was kind of like a rush. Like, okay, here you go. Here's what you want to know. Here's how he got out, and now let's move on.
Yeah, I think although okay, so the runtime of this episode pretty short. I think without the credits, you're sitting at like low 30s, 30 minutes. So I think the time spent here, pretty good use of the time, right? You don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm glad that they didn't like play. I mean, I guess that could have been a cool approach too, is like playing him falling in or like, but they avoided that.
Like a flashback scene there. He could have just a quick recap. It's like 10 seconds, maybe 5 seconds of him falling into the Sarlacc pit.
I do like the horror side, the small glimpse, because we've heard in the newscast some rumors that Mike Flanagan is a little interested in maybe developing a Star Wars horror thing. So I don't know, maybe they're like,
I'm not a zombie fan, but I would like to see Mike Flanagan do zombie stormtroopers. I think that would be an cool, awesome mashup. Just because like he hasn't exactly done a zombie thing yet that I'm aware of. He's like more supernatural stuff. So
is that a thing that happens in Star Wars ever? Like legend stuff?
It's a book.
Nice.
It's got pretty cool art covers. It's like a bunch of like stormtrooper helmets. Like yeah. It's a good book.
That's awesome. So Boba comes out. He just kind of like passes out on the ground. And we are then, in the evening, nighttime, and the Jawas come rolling up, and they just kind of strip him of his gear, which is, where Mando, sees his gear for the first time in The Mandalorian. So that was kind of a cool tie-in. But yeah, he's just like left in his long john skibbies there, roasting in the desert. And then some other visitors come. We got the Tuscan Raiders, which Chad, again, correctly predicted, and you kind of like both theories of yours with the Tuscans came true by the end of the episode.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, the Tuscans come, they take him captive, and poor Boba gets knocked out probably like 30 times in this episode. He just does. Like gets the crap kicked out of him. But so like this episode consists of two story arcs, transpiring. You have the flashbacks with the Tuscans, they're out in the desert, and then you have like the current day at the palace in what is the town called?
Mos
Espa, yeah.
Okay, so those are the two kind of arcs that we're following here. So the Tuscans take Boba back to their camp. And, again, Boba's just getting the crap kicked out of him this entire episode. He's tied up to a post. What's the alien race that's tied up with him? I always forget what they're called.
It's what Greedo is, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
He said it.
He did.
I'll look it up.
But he's, there's two prisoners, Boba and this other alien species that we cannot remember what they're called. They're sitting here tied up to these posts around the fire, and Boba tries to escape by, freeing his hands from the ties, and asleep in front of him is a massive dog-like alien creature.
Yeah.
The only reason I know it's called a massive is because I watch with closed captioning on and in the recaps, just in case they throw anything out there in the text that is worthy of being noted. Yeah. Anyways, the Massive comes and attacks him just as he's about to get free. He doesn't get free yet, but in Boba fashion, he kind of gets the creature in a headlock and kind of knocks it out there for a second, frees himself, And while he's doing that, his prisoner pal is like, "Hey, this guy's trying to get away."
Yeah, which I loved. I thought that was hilarious.
Like he's so mean to Boba, and Boba the whole time is like trying to help him out.
Right.
And like, why do you want to be a prisoner?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, Boba gets chased by the Tuscans. We have a cool second little fight kerfuffle there with the Massive. And then Boba ends up fighting a crazy Tuscan ninja, which was pretty cool. And eventually gets recaptured. But what did you guys think about this Tuscan fighter? Did you notice maybe anything here?
Look like a chick.
Yeah.
Look like a female Tuscan. But also these Tuscans are like bougie Tuscans. They have, like, really nice tents, and they're wearing like more black, so it's like upscale Tuscan Raiders, which is interesting.
I gotta be honest, I really dug the way they looked with the black and everything.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see if it's going to be like the royalty of the Tuscans or something. I don't know what it is. I've never seen, to my knowledge, we've never seen any of them dressed in black like this or looking like this in any fashion. So I thought
that
cool.
organized.
Or that organized, true, yeah. And I'm trying to think. I don't think that we. Oh, yeah, we have seen kid Tuscans because...
Yes.
Anakin slaughters them all. Yeah.
Oh, Annie.
Dude loves killing children.
Right, yeah.
So that is one thing that I forgot to mention. There's a very important character here, and it's the Child Tuscan, who, again, like everyone else in this episode, beats poor Boba.
Yes.
But yes, what were you saying, Chad?
Do we know, like, are they an alien race, or are they just like desert dwelling humanoid that are dressed like this to avoid the sand and stuff?
It's really unknown, though. I'm pretty sure there's been known like characters that have lived among the Tuscan Raiders, and you can don that gear as any kind of humanoid. So it is very unknown if they are just like a separate race, or if they are just sand people, like truly, that are just they just wear that gear to protect themselves. And I was trying to think. It's almost like kind of like not that they mutilate each other, but almost like one of those kind of cultures where, like, to be accepted into it, like you really join them, and like somehow they like mutilate themselves underneath, like who knows, and then like they wear all this gear. Could be something like that. Almost like the like Din Djarin's cult, like maybe they are some sort of like sand people cult. Not sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wonder if we'll see any of that in this show. I don't want to make any more predictions, but it'd be cool to see kind of the inner workings of them, and I think we're going to, because he's not done with them, obviously. So
and like put a little timing with it. So present day on the show, this is about like 9-10 ABY. So after episode 6, so there are, and they did, and I like that they didn't really, and that was another thing that was like, whoa, they're not like wasting any time. He got his armor jacked like first couple of minutes of the episode. I'm like, okay, there went his armor. Now we know how long he was without his armor. So he was without his armor, assumingly, if he crawled out of that Sarlacc pit within the first couple days of falling into it. 9 years, right, in the desert here on Tatooine. We see him in Mandalorian with their I think it's a bocce stick. I'm not sure, but whatever they use.
Kind of looked like the old Tuscan ninjas that he used to beat the crap out of Boba. So maybe, by the time we get to the end of the episode, he kind of, spoiler alert, earns their respect. We'll get to that. But I don't know. Maybe that is like maybe a gift of respect or something. There might be another encounter between this Tuscan ninja that I'm going to continue to call the ninja and Boba, that maybe he gives him this staff or stick or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could be a side arc that they follow like this whole entire series.
Yeah, I think that's the case, Nick. I think that we're going to be seeing 2 split through the entire 6. What is it? 6 episodes? 7 episodes? 7 episodes. I think we're probably going to get the split story through a majority of them, if not all of them, because
his dreams.
Yeah.
The back to dreams.
But yeah, during this fight scene, I was like, hey, that looks oddly familiar. Like maybe the same weapon that he used to destroy all of the stormtroopers when we saw him in Mando.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd be interested to see. I really do hope they continue the dual arcs here, because I think the time with the Tuscans is interesting, and I'd like to see how he eventually meets up with Mando in that scene with the crate, or right after. Is it after? Before? When Mando fights the crate dragon?
That's season 2.
Season
1 is where
yeah, you're right.
Season 1 ended, with that was like 7 or 8, I think, when they had the actual. And I also forgot a little bit like how much Fennec was kind of in season 1, because she had the whole sniper shoot off with Mando and what's his face.
Yeah. And then Mando leaves her.
Yep.
And Boba saves her.
Yeah.
And hence the kicking off of the Fennec Boba partnership.
Which is a good point, because that still gives, I mean, for really all we know, that Boba spent 8-9 years with the Sand People. Just hanging out, looking for his armor, hunting down those dang Jawas.
I really thought about wearing that hoodie tonight with my hood up. The one that you guys were making fun of.
The one that looks like
Jawa hoodie.
Yeah, I think that I think you might be right on the timing there, because I mean, he, like Mike said, he's even dressed like them when we first see him in Mandalorian. So, I think, like I said, I think the majority of the show is going to be telling that story of them, which I'm very interested in, because I can't wait to see more about these Tuscan Raiders, because we don't know a whole heck of a lot. They're just very side characters in everything that we ever encounter them in. They're either getting slaughtered or attempting to do the slaughtering. So,
well, yeah, and over the years, like, people that we've been slowly getting more and more about the Tuscan Raiders, because obviously the prequels were just a slight upgrade from the original trilogy, even though they all got slaughtered. But like the most important thing was like Din, right? He can speak with them. He's like on good terms with them. He understands them. So like we're slowly getting this more and more built out race of Tuscan Raiders, and I like that we have upscale fancy ones now too.
Yeah, I like it too.
I do love how you use like the bougie Raiders.
Yeah. So what are we guessing with these guys? Are they like some sort of royalty? Or are they just a different clan of Tuscan Raiders? Or
they're even like a hard just different clan, like they just have higher standards, or they are like the kind of more the main clan or some sort of royal clan. Then all the rest are just kind of like peasants that live there.
Yeah, I would say my guess would just be another clan. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
just gives it
either or.
Especially towards the end of the episode, which we'll get to eventually. But the guy that hands him the whatever cup, he just looks like a king of some sort, doesn't he? He's like dressed like one and everything. So
definitely the chief.
He's got the cool like little scepter. So let's see, we covered that. I did like how skilled the Tuscan ninja was in his combat there. Like I mean, I'm gonna give Boba a little bit of a pass. He's crusty. He's just been tied to a post for who knows how long. Has he been eating? Sleeping probably not very well. He's pretty thirsty. I'm gonna say I would like to see a rematch when they're like both at their A game. But the ninja was very skilled, to say the least.
And if this were a video game, basically him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit was like the beginning of a video game where you get all your stats wiped. Like you start from 0. When you get your stuff jacked from a Jawa, like you are starting at the bottom.
It's very true. Very true.
So, Fennec comes and kind of knocks on the tank, and he's like, "Hey, boss, time to wake up." They're here to pay their tributes. So we learned that these flashback scenes, like we mentioned before, are just dreams that apparently Boba's had before, because he says something to the effect of, the dreams have returned, or the dreams are back, or something like that. So, Fennec comes, wakes him up because the people are there to pay their respects. We get a cool gear up dressing montage.
Straight out of Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly. We see the shotgun knees again, which is a nice little League of Legends reference for anyone who plays that. My boy Urgot with the shotgun knees. But yeah, so we go down to the what did you call the
audience chamber?
The audience chamber. So we head down to the audience chamber. Boba's in his seat. Fennec's chilling on the armrest. We have the droid there announcing the people who are coming in. And one by one, I'll just call them the constituents, come in, pay their tribute to the crime lord Boba Fett. Cool things here. First, the droid's voice is Matt Berry, who is the one and only Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows. I only know that because I went on IMDb to see who played the mayor's little representative.
Yeah, he looked very familiar.
Yeah,
Who was it?
Nobody that I recognized, but I was like, oh wow, he looks familiar. I gotta see who it is.
Yeah.
But the third person in the cast list is Matt Berry, and I was like, holy crap, he's in this. And then after seeing that and then listening to that scene again, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely Laszlo.
Yeah.
Just with a droid voice.
Glad you bring up that droid, because that droid he has you notice he has he makes that comment about torturing the Gamorreans. Well, that is Jabba's torture droid, which you see in episode 6, in the bowels of Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
That's why he just looks scary. He's got the red eyes,
yeah.
And he just he's just always kind of drooling for some violence and torture. That's the droid's MO. All it wants to do is torture people, but Boba's not really letting him.
I hope that we get more scenes with Matt Berry voicing him, because you could kind of hear a little bit of his comedic flair. Matt Berry is hilarious, and if you've ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, Laszlo is one of the funniest characters in that show. He's just over the top. So yeah, I would like to see if we get any more of that droid, and in particular some good Berry zingers. But yeah, one of the constituents who comes into the chambers is a character named Doc Strassi, and apparently this is someone that Boba has worked for in the past, and he says as much, and how this is kind of awkward, and Fennec's like, oh well, it must be a little more awkward for him, I would think. But I asked Nick, being the resident Star Wars encyclopedia here, who this Doc guy is, and apparently he's a new name, at least here. So
definitely seems like a new name, but the family and I'm pretty sure we saw it in the trailer, there's a whole table full of Trandoshans, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's all a thing. So I think they're just introducing newer characters into this stuff, but same themes that have been kind of existed before. Then I have something to say about the funny interaction with the mayor's representative.
Oh, go ahead.
That whole sequence kind of seemed more like kind of making fun of the typical mobster tribute interaction, because they're all just kind of new to it, kind of. And it was this on the second watch, it was more funny to me, because it was almost mocking how those go down, how serious they take themselves, and they're just kind of mocking it. It was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. I also really dug how they're calling him a daimyo, which is straight from, that's what the lords in feudal Japan were called.
Yeah.
So it's another tie back. There's a lot of Star Wars tiebacks to feudal Japan throughout the entire series. So it was cool to just see him use it again here. But yeah, I liked this entire sequence. I thought that was funny, where he's like, "I'm the crime lord. He's supposed to pay me."
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I thought this was cool, and I do want to backtrack a little bit on something I said last week, where I said that the throne was empty. in the teaser for this, don't we see him taking the throne from Bib?
That
Right?
was the end of
Of
after credit
season
scene
2.
of season
Right.
2, Mando.
Yeah. So I think last week I said that we didn't know how he got it, but we did know how he got it. So I just wanted to scratch that prediction or whatever off the record because I remember that as I was watching this.
Yeah, I just thought that maybe we would get that more
detailed,
expanded upon. But
yeah,
Just walk in.
Yeah, whatever.
Place
We
wasn't
already went
guarded.
over it, took it. But yeah, I did enjoy that mayor's representative interaction there.
It was just like super passive aggressive.
Yeah,
both
yeah.
of them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was the best part.
Do you think the mayor is gonna play, a larger role here as the series transpires?
Yeah,
That's who
definitely.
jumped him.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's who I think it is too. Because even the passive aggressive nod that he says right at the end kind of hints that they might be interacting with each other again at some point in
Wouldn't
the
be
near
surprised
future.
if you're visited by another delegation.
Right, another
Yep,
delegation.
yep.
So that's how I take those guys that attacked them. But we'll see.
Nice. Hey,
And
I like
the
that water bottle you got there, Nick.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just makes
Little
that
bit of
water
glare.
so tasty.
Oh man, jeez, I feel so left out with my mason jar.
Hey,
Wow.
mason jars are in. What was I gonna say? Oh, and even like the Trandoshan, like the whole line about even when a Trandoshan like compliments you, sounds like a threat.
Sounds like a threat.
I
Yeah,
hope
like
you
that.
never leave, Mos Espa.
Yeah.
It's just such a like a mobster Italian thing to kind of say.
I do appreciate the like awkwardness in most of Boba's interactions here in
Yes.
the town. You could tell it's like his first week on the job. And he's like, am I doing this right? I don't know.
And that's kind of like the satire of it, or like the mockery
Yeah.
of it, because he was even like, aren't they supposed to pay me? Like he's genuinely like confused. He's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an interesting dynamic. I don't know if they're like intending for that to be like a little strain of like comedy.
And I also love Fennec's just like ready to kill anyone. She's like, should I kill him?
Should I kill him?
And he's
Yeah.
like, let's cool
No.
your jets there, Fennec.
Is that a no? Yes. That's a no.
So wait, yeah? No.
Yes. Kill
Hold
him.
on. Who's on first?
Too late.
So yes, also 2 Gamorreans, like Nick mentioned earlier, are brought in. Deserters, apparently, and the droid's like, shall we kill them? And
their screams will send, a message to
Message,
everyone
yeah.
who might oppose.
yes, which is a very Laszlo thing to say. By the way.
I love that. I love the droid just dying to torture somebody or kill somebody.
Yeah, dude. Between the droid and Fennec, I'm not sure how anyone walked out of that room alive that day. But yeah, the Boba decides to spare the Gamorreans and take them on as like, he's like, you guys were loyal until you deserted, which I was like, wait a second, isn't that the whole point of the droid wanting to kill him, because they became not loyal?
Yeah. So when did they desert? Did they desert?
It's like after someone died, I think.
It was after Jabba died, correct?
No, because he said they loyally served both the Maspian, Jabba, and then Bib Fortuna. So I think when Boba took over, they bailed and then got captured. So now they're being presented back as a gift to Boba
to be slaughtered.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But he took it the other way and was like, "Yeah, you can."
Hey, will you guys be loyal to me if I decide not to kill you?
It's like, what else you guys got going on? You guys busy?
Yeah,
look like it.
I would take them in a heartbeat. Those 2 bulls, Of course, I'm going to take them for security.
Yeah,
they're like, we can have our house back. Sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So the crew doubles there. We got Boba, Fennec, and the 2 Gamorreans. Next we have Fennec and Boba taking to the streets here, and they are on their way to visit Garsa Flip in the Katina, like casino called Sanctuary. And again, like Chad predicted, basically every shot from the trailer is from this episode, and this is one of those shots. Fennec reminds Boba that Jabba ruled with fear, and Boba's like, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna rule these streets with respect, baby. And yeah, they make it down to the sanctuary. Again, if at any time I'm over, skipping over anything that you guys find important, just feel free to interrupt me. They make it to the sanctuary. They come in, talk to Garza there, which I thought was hilarious. They're like, first the what are they called? The Twi'leks?
Yeah,
Twi'leks, yeah.
Okay. The first two are like, oh, would you like us to, go clean your armor, shine your helmets, whatever?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the dude was pretty jacked, I must say.
Yeah.
Then Garza comes over and she's like, oh, do you want us to hose down and feed your
Yeah,
Gamorreans? Like, that's awesome. But yeah, so basically Boba heads over and just to kind of like make his introduction to the head of the sanctuary there, and it's basically like, yeah, your business is gonna be okay under my watch. Like, we're good. And so she returns their helmets, and Boba's is stacked full of cash. Do you think this Garza will be a big player here in the series too? Their interaction seemed kind of more than just passing.
Yeah, I think she's definitely going to be a somewhat major role. We'll see going forward. She could just be like somebody that pays Boba in the end, and this was just a way to show off a cantina scene, to be honest, with the band and everything. But I think she's going to be important. I don't know that I trust her necessarily. She seems a little, I don't know, something's off with her. I don't know if that was just me. I don't know if it was because I don't know what it was. Just something was rubbing me the wrong way about her. I don't know.
She's either in league with the mayor, or Boba's gonna have her help him like take down the mayor, and it's gonna be like a plus to her because maybe she gets to be mayor next. Because I'm gonna assume he's mayor of Mos Espa there and the surrounding plateaus, as they did that really awesome flyover shot.
That was really cool.
It was cool to see something other than Mos Eisley, which is kind of like, compared to the other places on Tatooine, is really like just scum, villainy, and like a trash hole.
Right.
So, but like, this is obviously, once again, we get to see a little bit more upscale Tatooine, and this would be that version of it. So obviously she runs like a casino in town there, so he's probably mayor of that town, so there's probably a lot of other politics we're going to get into while we're hanging out here.
I love space politics. Sign me up
for
space gangster mob.
Yeah,
mob
that's exactly what they're setting up. That's why I enjoyed this episode so much, because it felt like it was like a crime drama that we were getting into, which is what I've always wanted from Star Wars. I felt like it's something that's told very little in Star Wars. That's why I was so amped about Star Wars 1313 when they first showed it off. I was like, oh, finally a game where you're not playing as a Jedi. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm excited to see, how everything unfolds here in the politics, and the throne room stuff was cool too. Like the, court they were holding, I think could be really cool. But is Mos Eisley close to Mos Espa?
I mean, I think there's generally like on different parts of the planet, but
okay. I didn't know, because
something tells me that, well, no, the suns do set on that planet. Just trying to think of like any clues, like from like games and stuff that I've played. I think they're all
gonna need a deed plot, Nick.
Yeah, I'll get you a deed plot. But I mean, they're they're just separate cities, and I'm sure you could travel to them via swoop bike.
Right. And I know Mos Eisley is like the spaceport of Tatooine too. So I don't know if this is like the capital area of Tatooine that we're looking at, because it's much larger than anything we've seen on Tatooine before that I can remember, at least. And this is our first time ever seeing Mos Espa, is it not? Outside of, I mean, I believe Jabba's palace is there, obviously, right? But outside of that.
So, let's get wrecked by the Star Wars databank.
I will say that shot overlooking was really, really cool. That's
definitely
quite a lot of ground for Boba and Fennec to cover their walk in the streets.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. It's much larger than I was anticipating it being. So,
and I think we need to mention about like Fennec's like, so why aren't you having them carry you? and Boba's like refusal to be toted around town. And Garza also makes mention. She's like, I didn't see your freaking whatever they carry you on.
Yeah.
He's like, I have feet. I know how to use them. Like,
right.
I forget what he says, but it's something along those lines of.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of his, respect thing, and not, trying to do the same thing Jabba did or whatever.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, and if I was in his position, I wouldn't be lugged around the streets by people. That's just weird. Like, that's a Jabba thing to do because he's a slow giant worm. So of course he's gonna get. But I am curious, is Jabba the last in that bloodline that we know of? Like, is anybody coming back for this throne?
I think based on how Clone Wars addressed a lot of that stuff is they were on their way out, kind of all the Hutts. Like, they didn't really survive the Clone Wars very well, and then the Empire days. And because I would almost say, like, Jabba is that kind of tale of the gluttonous, like, obviously mob ruler, but the end of his line, because he was just so greedy and just so focused on being the bad guy, kind of, instead of like making sure it's like, do I have an heir? Like, what's all in order? Like, I'm just gonna live forever and be a fat slug.
And just eat. And, be a fat slug. Yeah, that's definitely true. He's the mob kid who grew up in royalty, and now all his powerful family members are dead, and he's just living on his money and feeding people to his
fat
giant
slug. That's gonna be my new insult.
Fat slug.
Yeah, fat slug.
So yeah, Mos Espa is the capital of Tatooine, at least like at one point in time or another. But I'm trying to figure out why they are showing pictures and scenes of Mos Espa and Mos Eisley interchangeably. I'm not sure why. Perhaps Mos Eisley is like part of this Mos Espa, like larger.
That's kind of that's what
metro area.
Because you would think it just. To think about it, it would be odd for the capital of a planet to not have a spaceport, right? You would think that Mos Eisley is got to be at least close to wherever we're at right now. I was thinking that it was just like another part of this area, like because it is huge.
Yeah.
Is there any significance in these two places being close, or is that just an observation that you're curious about?
Yeah, I was just more curious than anything. Just because I would like to see some more from Mos Eisley, because I love everything that has ever happened there. So nice. It has the same kind of feel to it. Even the streets, the buildings, everything looks kind of similar. Even the sanctuary is similar to the cantina from A New Hope. So. Yeah, I was just more curious than anything. I was just trying to piece everything together in my head, like where the spaceport was and the capital and all that.
Speaking of cantina, we got some more cantina music, which was pretty dope. And I gotta say, also, anytime I see Fennec on with her helmet, all I can think of is Devo, the amazing one-hit wonder band from Akron that wrote the hit song "Whip It."
Oh yeah.
Like, do a quick Google search of Devo, look at their helmet or their hats they wear, and tell me that does not make you think of Fennec Shand. Just color it red, baby.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. It reminds me of who were the all right, I'm gonna have to think about it. So go ahead and continue.
Yeah, you just put a little face guard right here on the Devo helmet. Bam, you got Fennec Shand colored a little orange. Anyways, continuing on with the recap, we're actually getting pretty close to the end of the episode here. Like we talked about, after leaving the sanctuary, Boba and Fennec are jumped by a gaggle of assassins equipped with these cool light shields and taser staffs. The Gamorreans come. Mixing up my universes there.
Yeah.
The Gamorreans come and lend a hand. Boba, they kind of, Boba and Fennec are trying to fight as they're like encircled with the shields and the tasers, and they just can't get through these shields. There's like the cool move where Fennec kind of like ran and jumped off Boba and did like this cool like little double kick thing, but it didn't really do much of anything to help them escape. But the Gamorreans come and help break up the circle there, and then we have like a cool fight scene of like everyone getting tased, and the Gamorreans and Fennec and Boba just kind of wrecking this group of assassins. 2 or 3 try to escape by like pulling their best Spider-Man impression and like scaling the wall of the building there. Before all of them get away, Boba like wrist missiles one into oblivion, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool because there was just nothing left of him when the smoke cleared.
Yeah, just completely vaporized. Fennec chases after him, but before she does, Boba just gives her one stipulation, one command instruction, and he just says alive. So he wants at least one alive. But what do you guys think of this fight scene as it holds up like choreographically to stuff we've seen in Mando and all that?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I'm more curious who these people are. Like I said, I think they're tied to the mirror in some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the fight scene was cool. The chase scene was a little less so for me. I don't know. I feel like that's how I would look if I tried to parkour those actors. so
Yes.
they weren't the best parkour, stunt people that I've ever seen in my life. But it was cool to see him kind of, traveling across the rooftops and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was something that kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me. It was like, I'm pretty sure these guys have never done anything like this in their lives. This might be their first time.
Yeah. Whenever people swing from like poles or something attached to roofs or walls or whatever, I'm always like, man, if I ever tried that, like it would be my luck. It would just snap off and I'd just be like flying off the roof. We had air quote extreme parkour scene there for a couple seconds. I will say I really thought the like light shields or whatever you want to call them, I think those were have we seen those before? I thought they were pretty neat. You didn't really see when Boba and Fennec were trying to fight their way out, the shields really like hurt them, but we did see I think Fennec threw one of the assassins on top of someone who was holding the shield, and it kind of like shocked him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool little weapon.
They seemed like actual modern or advanced versions of what the Gungans have. Like they have like the primitive version.
Yeah.
This just seems like kind of like the military grade version of that. If you didn't live, underwater on Naboo.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So after the amazing parkour scene that we see, but Fennec catches up to two of the fleeing assassins, and they have their own little fight scene, which ends in Fennec kicking one off the roof and holding the other at taser point. And I will say, you could barely see like under the mask, but the assassin's face had some like markings, like almost like a tattoo or like a tribal marking of some sort. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled for other characters we may see with some sort of markings on their bodies or faces to see if we can, piece together, where these assassins may have come from. But I do like what you guys said. I didn't even catch, put 2 and 2 together with the assassins and what the mayor's representative said as he was leaving the chamber there about being, visited again, soon. I think the highest probability is those are, sent by the mayor. So good call by you guys, bad call by me for not noticing. And now we have a map up on the screen here. So Nick, what's going on?
Yeah, so it's really bugging me about this. So I had to figure it out. So this map, which is accurate because I checked it.
Which is accurate.
I happen to have a Galaxy Maps.
Galaxy Maps. Yeah, I have one of those somewhere. It's not down here, or I would have grabbed it.
And this is Tatooine. better illustrated, but this map basically shows it a little better. So I guess I was just ignorant to the fact that episode 1 took place in Mos Espa, and that's where Qui-Gon and Anakin and all that took place. Mos Eisley's way down here by Anchorhead, which is like off in the Rocky Mount, like, the mountains, more rocky terrain, and then Dune Sea, they landed around here and then went to Mos Espa.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
Very different.
I didn't know that about Mount or Mos Espa in episode 1 either. So you didn't miss it. Is it ever said? I'm sure it is. I haven't watched episode 1 in quite a long time. So
yeah, it probably gets all bleeds to get.
And Jabba's palace is all the way down.
Jabba's palace, the Junlin Waste, which are mentioned in episode 4. So yeah.
So his palace isn't even in Mos Espa?
No, not even close to it. It's closer to Mos Eisley.
Yeah, what a trek! Like, Jabba's palace. Like, I wonder what Boba's getting around in. Did they fly the ship, or did they take?
He's got 2 legs,
the backup sail barge.
Right. Yeah, the backup sail barge.
It's in the garage. It's a little smaller.
Yeah.
I heard you rustling around, so I was interested to see what you were looking up. You looked very
you were intense.
Focused.
Yeah, you were focused on whatever you're doing. Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that you have a book of maps for Star Wars. I mean, no brainer.
Yeah, basically they RPG'd all of the notable planets and locations into a very well illustrated map. There's even the last page is called Bestiary, and it's like all the different animals too. It's crazy.
Oh, cool.
I love how you're like, and it's accurate because I know it's accurate.
It's accurate.
It checks out against the book.
Okay.
So I do want to point out real quick that before we move off this fight scene on the roof, that I loved the kick where she just looks at both of them and then just kicks the one off.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Redeeming moment there.
Yeah, for sure.
She's like, I finally got to kill somebody. But before we move on, I know that something, the internet enraged Nick dealing with this episode, and I think some of it had to do with Fennec. Am I right?
Yeah, there was just like a really, really bad article. Like it's the only article that came up in my Google feed about this show, which is upsetting. Not that I was on it much, but the one article did come up was basically saying it's like the worst thing ever. And when they got to it was just full of just crap. But then they got to the part about Fennec where they're like, oh, there's this character called Fennec Shand who has 0 backstory. And like all they say is Master Assassin. That doesn't give me anything to go on. This sucks.
Did they ever watch Mando?
Or Bad Batch? Or
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of, it's just when you make comments like that and you're writing an article, just stop writing articles.
It's like someone watching WandaVision and be like, oh, there's a character named Vision. And he's just likes Wanda.
Yeah.
Right.
Why are they married? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Have you not seen any of the other 10 movies he was in?
Right. That kind of stuff really irritates me. And it really irritates me when people review stuff like this and throw politics into it to give it a bad review. You know what I mean? So that stuff's getting really old. That's what I hate about games media and everything that we're in right now, technically. Mm-hmm. So that drives me nuts. So I'm right up your alley of getting annoyed with that stuff. And I'm kind of happy now that we're doing this podcast. I don't really look at that stuff too often anymore because I want to have my own opinion and not read somebody else's terrible take on what's going on.
Yeah. And the only reason I had to read it was because it was claiming it was just like a giant dumpster fire. I'm like, see, you're either clickbaiting right now or you're just writing a very based article on some other premise. You just don't like Star Wars, I take it.
Right.
It was weird.
Yeah, that had to be the case because and we may be swayed because we're huge Star Wars fans. I'm the kind of person, just give me any kind of Star Wars stuff and I'm happy. So, but I loved everything in this episode. So I can't see anybody having issues with any of it, really.
But here's the thing about we're especially Star Wars, and you probably say the same thing about Marvel. These very established IPs, they don't have to prove anything to anyone. They just get to exist and just make money and produce content. No one cares if you don't like it or not. Just don't watch it.
That always seemed like that was a hard thing for George Lucas, where especially in the prequel trilogy, where he was wanting to tell a story, but nobody was liking the story that he was telling at the time. So I'm here to critique it, but I'm not here to, say that it shouldn't exist and it's trash and it ruins Star Wars and yada yada yada.
And not that these kind of articles don't have valid points baked in with them as they trash the whole thing, because they're not perfect. Right. But when you go and just say things that just are not true, like that's when it's just like, all right, slow down there. Like, I get it.
Yeah, and I think well, two things. I think at the end of the day, we watch these shows to be entertained, right? And enjoy fun stories. So like if you go into watching something trying to pick it apart and critique everything that you're seeing, like you're missing the point of why this was created, was for you to have a fun outlet of getting immersed in a story. And then my second thing is I'm generally just a fan of everything for the most part.
Yeah.
But I will if I see something that is like so bad, or something terribly wrong, like I will say it. Just listen anytime The Happening comes up. I hate that movie so much. It's the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know. I feel like I'm channeling my inner Kevin Smith or something. But like, there's just so much. I don't know. People just
watch the news if you want to be pissed off about things or like upset at your life that day. Like, don't watch Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, don't. I mean, why can't you just look and try to, unless something is like so bad or wrong, like fine, like, rip it. But like, why is everything viewed through the lens of like, I got to find the issues instead of like, I have to find, like, why can't we appreciate what's good and entertaining instead of always trying to find and pinpoint like all of the errors or all of the terrible part? I don't know.
Yeah, because everybody wants to get their hot take out there instantly, and the hot take for this would have been saying that it was awful because nobody else was probably saying that.
Yeah.
So
this
you got to make up
sexist because they didn't give the female character any backstory.
Yeah, like
except for like all the episodes she was in, The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian, that explained her backstory.
Yeah, exactly. It just irritates me. Like, leave politics out of this stuff. Like I get that a lot of people like politics, but it doesn't need to be in our Star Wars reviews and our video game reviews, and you don't have to give bad reviews to games and movies that have a male lead in it. It's just ridiculous. Watch it for what it's worth. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You don't need to, shut it down just because it didn't match your perfect vision of how this show or movie was going to go.
Yep.
And speaking of critiques, this is either a critique now or they are going to rectify it somehow. But when they walked out, back to the scene here, when they walked out of the casino here, the Gamorreans are clearly right behind them. And then as they get further into the street, they are literally gone, disappeared. So unless that was just some sort of like for the luxury of getting jumped and then them coming saving them, that's kind of sad. Or they are somehow in on some sort of plot going on here, and that's why they like dipped but then saved them. It was weird.
You might be putting a little too much credit, giving the people too much credit for that second point. It's probably just it'd probably make more sense if they just weren't here anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't like that in the second watch. I'm like, oh, come on, they should not have had them walk out with them. Like they could have
still been literally got down distracted. Or whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's like they like went off to a trough like off camera and they're like drinking. And then they're like, oh, they're getting jumped like minutes later.
But speaking of the Gamorreans, the last part of this little interaction here is Boba being like, I need to back to pod. So they drag him back and put him in his little tube of healing waters. And once he gets back in the pod, we're treated with our last sequence of the episode, one that I quite liked, I think. Boba makes it back to his pod, of course, and we get this flashback This one is of the Child Tuscan that we saw earlier, that was, beating on Boba with a stick. He takes Boba and the other prisoner out on a water fetching quest here, which, first off, I think it's pretty funny that they just dig for these like little water pumpkin thingies. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Reminded me of like a pumpkin, but like,
Yeah.
man,
The desert, man.
finding
They're not that
those would
deep either.
be, yeah.
They're not. Yeah, they're.
But can we talk about another thing that didn't make any sense? They go past this like little house, right? That's being raided.
Yes.
Ironically,
yes.
not by Tuscans, which I thought was kind of funny.
Hang on. I got to stop you here because this is important, because this was a Jordan prediction. This is certainly
Is that the swoop bike?
the swoop bike gang. It has to be. I mean, they're dressed like bikers. They're on swoop, but it absolutely has to be. I know I said that on the episode, but that was 100% Jordan that pointed that out. From Shadows of the Empires, I think, where we might have first heard of them. I don't know if they pop up in any other expanded universe legend stuff. But yeah, I'm excited that they're here, man, because they're cool in Shadows of the Empire for the short time that they're there.
Well, I'm sure they'll probably be popping up again here with this. Like,
it does look like they're different in some way. I can't say that that's the exact swoop bike gang that we saw in Shadows of the Empire, but it is certainly a swoop bike gang, and I've never heard them being called anything in Shadows of the Empire, so I was trying to look that up because they do write like a JL on the building. Is that what you guys read that as? Like a
they're
JL?
part of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
Justice League, yeah.
I took it as just like their symbol, just
Or a
because
symbol.
they don't often like in Star Wars use acronyms like we do for things. They have
Right.
more symbols.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it probably is a swoop bike gang, and these are just like the lackeys, like
some henchmen,
the suckers picking up like loot and water from someone's house.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is like,
yeah,
the water tank is just spewing out water. Like, go get some.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about
They're
that.
just like, oh wow, that sucks. All right, back to the middle of the desert we go.
Let's go dig up these little pumpkins.
Yeah, but I feel like that. I don't know. That kid maybe was, feeling empowered,
a little powerful.
Yeah, like making them dig for them. I don't think the goal was to go get water because clearly they have water. He just was on some sort of weird trip. Like, I'm gonna go make the slaves or our captives go dig for little gourds, water gourds.
I love the names we're coming up with, the little water sacks. I've totally forgot about the bikers drawing the symbol on the house there. So that's a good catch. I'm gonna say the JL stands for the Jawa liaisons. All the stuff that they were stealing, they're going to go give to the Jawas.
Yeah. Jawa's Legion is what I'm going for.
For a split second, when like they were crawling over the hill and they saw like all that going on, I'm like, wait, continue it. I was like, are we about to see like Owen and Owen Lars get like
the same thing?
Like, but I was like, no,
wait,
that wouldn't make up timeline at all.
Yeah,
I was like, I hope not. But that's just like what it looked exactly how that scene would go down.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm going with Jabba's Legion for JL. That's what I'm going for, because they worked for Jabba in Shadows of the Empire. So that's
now they're rogue.
Now they're rogue.
Or no, wait, they would have been Jabba at the time. Well, post Jabba, right after Jabba.
Oh yeah. Oh right.
Yeah, but PGL doesn't look as cool as JL. So
true.
Yeah, so the trio here and the little massive pup, they make their way out to the water digging fields here in the middle of the Tatooine desert. And it's funny, the kids like yelling at Boba to start digging, and of course Boba can't understand anything he's saying. He's like, what do you want me to do? He's like, oh, dig. And then he like busts out the water pumpkin. He's like, oh, dig for water. Okay, why didn't you say so? So they start digging. He finds one and he cracks it open, starts to take a drink, and the kid like smacks him. And he's like, hey, that's my water. And he's like, hey. Well, no, he goes to hit him, and Boba like catches it, and he's like, I'm thirsty, bro. Like, let me get a drink. And then he ends up handing over the gourd, and that little snot-faced Tuscan Raider kid just like dumps it out, and the Massive starts drinking it. And he doesn't just dump it out, but he just like
Does it
slowly.
twice.
He's like,
Yeah.
oh, you
Slowly.
want, no.
Yeah.
He's like the in that State Farm commercial, the old guy with the dollar
Oh,
bill on there. He's like,
yeah.
you almost
you
got it. But yeah, so this kid's just being a giant turd the entire episode. They go back digging, and the kid and the Massive are kind of snoozing, taking a little sand nap, and Boba's like, hey, psst, hey, we can get out of here. We could have got out of here if he didn't like tell them I was trying to get out of there. You dork. You want to get out of here? If we get to, I forget where he said, but if we get to wherever, I can get us off planet. And again, I don't know why this guy like wants to be imprisoned, but he's like, shut up, bro. I'm digging for water. And Boba's like,
that's definitely what he said too.
That's exactly what he said. I did Google Translate and I typed it out. That's word for word. And Boba's like, well, I could just like strangle you with this chain or whatever, which was a little, foreshadowing there, what's about to happen. But our other turd of the trio is digging, and he comes across this weird scaly thing, and he starts to uncover it more, and then he wakes up this weird like 4-armed sand monster thingy, which made me think of like that dude from Mortal Kombat that has like
Goro. That's who made me think of too. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. But yeah, he wakes up this crazy sand creature thing, and we have like a cool fight scene of it just like wrecking everyone.
Everybody. Yeah, the Rhodian gets killed, I think, at least, hopefully.
It looked like it because he kind of gets buried under the sand.
Yeah. So
he tried to he grabbed the kid by the head, right? And then Boba came up, and then he just like was about to rip Boba like a limb from limb. And the kid comes and like stabs his little sand foot. And then Boba does Boba things, like
his
chains
little
up.
sand foot was what got me.
That's what it was. I mean, it's probably a big sand foot. It's kind of
it was a massive, it was a massive sand foot. So, have we seen this creature anywhere before? This is new, right?
This is new.
Yeah. Which subtitles did not, like the Massive, did not reveal any sort of like species or anything. It just said sand creature. So
it is all new, and and that's another thing that I think people don't appreciate. At least I appreciate, and that's just because I like Star Wars and I like what they do with it. But like the CGI here wasn't perfect, even if it wasn't CGI. It almost seemed more like traditional, like Godzilla, like of the 60s, like the way it moved. It was very kind of like stop motion-y kind of, and I like that in the more practical Star Wars look. It doesn't look perfect, like obviously you could have perfectly CGI'd that these days, but I feel like there's an art to not doing that.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that it necessarily stood out in any real fashion to me when I watched it. The only thing CGI wise that stood out in the entire episode was when Boba's running from the Massive at the very beginning.
Yes,
it looked
I totally
just so weird. Yeah, it looked so weird.
Weirdest run I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. If he can't like run maybe, and they CGI'd him running, or something was just off with it.
Dude, it was so funny.
It looked so weird. That's the only thing that stood out CGI wise.
Maybe he was just so crusty that like his legs didn't work right.
Yeah, right.
Just, like,
I mean, he'd been sitting a while, so
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, I remember seeing him like run, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't know how old that actor is. I'm gonna look it up because I'm just curious, because it just seemed weird. Like they CGI'd the entire thing of him running.
It's like Henry Cavill's mustache, except for like running legs.
He's 61.
He's 61. Oh dang.
Wow.
He looks pretty good for 61.
I will say that he looked really good getting out of that pod the first time when he's like,
settle down, Chad. Holy cow. Need to give you a second.
That was the one thing too that like stood out to me, like just how perfectly pristine he got out of that pod. Like there's no scar, like at least throw a scar on him somewhere. He was like perfect.
That's what Bacta does, man. It's magical.
It's that Sarlacc like intestinal juice just rejuvenates the skin, after it like scalded his face and everything. But yeah, so Boba does Boba things and like chains up 2 of the arms and I don't know, like gets thrown off and the creature goes for the Tuscan child again, and Boba comes and like wraps the chain around his neck and rides the sand creature, eventually strangling him and killing him and saving the child.
So seeing how
And
that's how Jabba died, I get
Yeah.
that's how Jabba died because he's a fat slug and he doesn't really have any like moves. But I feel like I don't know.
how did
Isn't
Jabba
that
die?
when he got choked out by Princess Leia, like the exact
Oh yeah,
same
yeah,
way?
right.
I feel like this thing could at least like what fallen on his back, did like a duck and roll, and would have like
Yeah, he's got
saved
like
himself.
yeah, he's got like 4 arms. Like, use your arms, bro.
Yeah, like drop, like duck, roll, do something. Like all you have to do is like roll onto your back, and that would have killed Boba here.
Right.
But Boba was like land surfing this dude.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it.
true.
I think it was an obvious nod to Jabba's
Yeah.
death, so I think that's why they did it. But you're right. Yeah, it does seem like it happens a lot in movies where people start getting strangled and they just like, okay, well,
They
I'm
just,
dead.
they just give
Well,
up. They're like,
yeah,
"Oh."
just give it. I'm dead.
Or it's like the plastic bag like suffocate you when you can just poke holes in the bag.
Okay,
and-
yeah, right.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I can breathe. Didn't think that one through, did you? But that doesn't, make for a very heroic
True.
deed by Boba here.
True.
Which, by the
Heroic.
way, after the creature fells, we have a very triumphant, heroic stance on top of the creature there.
I have a comment about that.
Okay, let's hear it.
So he holds the chain, right? And the
Yeah.
chain is broken.
Yes.
Like that exact that
And then
is
he drops the chain.
well that's part of the Sith like mantra. Like through strength my chains are broken. Like he
Oh,
through
yeah.
the strength, like he killed that beast and the chain that he was on was then broken. So it was a very Sith thing to
wow.
happen right there.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even put that together.
Man, Nick bringing the heat.
Yeah,
look
that's
out.
a cool little nod there.
Yeah, it looked great. Like you don't even get to see any Sith do that because they don't really cover that much with like
Right.
Sith in general. So hopefully we'll get like it just made me really want, as we've been talking about, like some 4,000 year ago Sith stuff because like that's what they're all about. Like that that's the end of the Sith mantra. Like through strength, chains are broken, and then you get power. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool cool shot.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, you get power and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very cool observation you made there, Nick.
Thank you.
That's why you guys need to listen to the Stang Show, because Nick's kind of like Star Wars Rain Man over there. But yeah, so Boba triumphantly defeats the sand monster, and Boba, the Massive, and the Tuscan child return to camp.
Head in hand.
That's right.
Witcher style.
The child is just rolling in hot with the giant sand creature monster head. And he's running around telling all of his buddies, like, oh, yeah, this thing came and I stabbed its little sand foot and then it almost killed me. And then Boba's like, oh, I'm going to choke you. And then we got his head. And so, kind of Boba here earns his rank and the respect here of the Tuscan camp. And we see that by the chieftain, or whatever his title is.
King.
Yes, the King Tuscan. He comes into the frame right in front of, beside Boba there, and hands him a water pumpkin, in which Boba drinks from. And then scene. There, we got the end of the episode. So, yeah. A lot of stuff happening there in a short 30-some minute episode. 2 different story arcs playing out at the same time. In the end, I think it was a very interesting episode, and I think they told the 2 arcs very well in the time that they were allotted. And I think I'm equally interested to see both play out. I really want to see how the Tuscan relationship develops there, and how he gets to the Boba that we see at the end of season 1 of The Mandalorian. Especially, I really want to see him finding Fennec and that whole thing happening, which I didn't even think of in episode 0. But as we're talking about the Tuscan and him, showing up at the end of season 1 of Mando, I really want to see him stumbling upon Fennec and how that whole thing played out. And of course, we're all interested in seeing what happens, the crime lord Boba Fett and all the happenings there, and the mobster / politics that will be taking place in Mos Espa. So what do you guys think now that we're here at the end? Anything really big happen that maybe we haven't touched on yet that will impact the series as we move forward, or anything in particular you're looking forward to here in episode 2?
I think outside of the what's her name at the casino, the mayor.
Let me look up her name.
The
Garza
mayor,
Flip.
Yeah, her, the mayor, and then like a little bit of the Transdoshans. Like I think that's the big lead-ons to that whole story arc, and like that's where we can expect that to go. And then I think we about called it with like the Tuscan Raider timeline here. Obviously, it would be cool to see if they, how many Easter eggs they can pack into that Tuscan Raider timeline, if they continue it. Yeah, Chad.
Yeah, I'm excited probably the most for the Tuscan Raider stuff, and then the crime stuff second. I just want to see. I'm curious if we're going to see like the Black Suns in here, or Black Sun, or Black Suns,
Black Sun,
Black Sun. Because I feel like there's
Crimson
a little
Dawn.
There's a little. Oh yeah, Crimson Dawn too. Yeah, we made that prediction though, right? Didn't we say that we were going to see? Or maybe that was one of my predictions, that we were going to see Emilia Clarke in this at some point.
We discussed it, if the possibility of it.
Yeah. So, I'm itching for a Star Wars crime story, and I have been for years. So it's cool that we're somewhat getting this as part of the series. And the other part of it I find just as intriguing, to be honest with you, because I've always enjoyed the Tuscan Raider stuff. It's just not enough. I need some more background to it. You know what I mean?
And I like about the Tuscan Raiders, they're definitely based on like different cultures, that actually exist.
Yeah, they always give me like a Native American vibe to them, that, and with the chief too. I think that this is kind of, they're leaning more into that maybe.
Yeah, and I think what I was thinking of earlier when I was saying like how they kind of like not mutilate, but like they modify their bodies. So I'm thinking more like South American type cultures and stuff like that.
True. Yeah.
Where, like just different things with like the different face stuff. That's what it reminds me of. But also how much their culture communicates without speaking. Because like just the way the chief like treated Boba the whole time, and then at the end, right, like no word was spoken, but like he just showed up next to him, handed him the gourd, and then like that right there without any words spoken signifies to Boba that like he is now in the tribe, like
right.
You're here. It's just a cool thing, like culturally, how no words are said, whereas like traditionally, like Western cultures, like we talk a lot. Obviously we have a whole podcast where all we do is talk, where there are cultures out there that literally exist and work like that, where not much is said, and it's all just like action based stuff. So I just think that's really cool how much they're leaning into that with the Tuscan Raiders.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely made it feel like he was a stranger in a strange land, which is the name of the episode, I think. So
in both instances, like because even in Mos Espa there, you can tell, like we talked about, his like
still trying to figure
awkwardness.
out things.
Yeah. So that's good observation there too, with the title and how that played out in both arcs there. So yeah, a lot of story lines to follow here, and excited to see how they all play out. Real quick before we end, you said Black Sun?
Yeah.
What is that?
So they're like a crime organization in Star Wars. So you saw them. You watched Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
You've seen them a couple times in Clone Wars. They're pretty heavily used in the Old Republic, the game. They're just like a crime syndicate, basically.
Okay.
Nice. They're Crimson Dawn style.
Yeah, they were in the Clone Wars for sure. They're like green, and they had like yellow like headrests kind of thing. Like their clothing's like very ornate kind of thing. But not to get them confused with
their Feline is the name of the leaders race. I think it's Feline. Prince Shizuor in Shadows of the
Yeah,
Empire is
Shizuor.
the head of them at the time.
Was that
So
were they like the big like spice dealers?
yes,
Those are
think they-
different
okay, maybe you're
because
right.
those were the
Different.
dudes with like the very like kind of Prothean looking heads.
Oh
like,
yeah.
They were they ran the spice mine in Solo. That's a different crime
Oh
group.
yeah,
okay.
no, not them. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black Sun's like big bulky green dudes with ornate headdresses, and then there's the spice dudes. I forget who they are. Not the spice girls, but the spice dudes.
Yeah. So it is
The pike. The pike.
Yeah,
the-
that's it. That's it.
the species is Feline, and they're from Feline, the planet. And I'll drop a picture of Prince Shizuor in the
He's a
Discord.
big deal. Legends.
Nice.
He was he was a big player in Shadows of the Empire, and I have like a emotional tie to him because I've spoken
Didn't
many
he try to
times
hook
about
up
how
with
much
Princess Leia?
Yes, and he also has like a weird thing where I'm trying to remember this. It's been a while since I read Shadows of the Empire. I need to go back and reread it. But he has like a thing where like women can't resist him. He has like pheromones that come out.
yeah.
So women, it's like impossible to resist him. But he was just like he was a cool character introduced in that book that we don't really see used much of anywhere outside the little bit that you see the race in Clone Wars. And I think at this point in the story, he's dead. If they were to bring him back, he'd be dead. But maybe they could bring him back in a different way. I don't know. I'd just love to see a live action take on that character.
You'll get in 10 years from Filoni.
Yeah. I kept. I'm sorry, Mike. One more
That's
thing.
cool.
I kept hearing that they were going to do like an animated Shadows of the Empire to kind of fill in that. So I was like, oh man, that sounds really awesome if they do that. It's been a couple years since I've heard that rumor, but it's just a cool story to kind of fill in the gap between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So, I have a deep tie to that. That's why I love yellow lightsabers is from that book, because on the cover it looks like Luke is holding a yellow lightsaber. I'm pretty sure it's green and it's just the aesthetic of the book, but I just made me obsessed with yellow lightsabers from that point forward. So
that's why I like Jedi Sentinels so much.
Yeah. I honestly, I thought about buying one of those lightsabers because they're yellow, but and then I thought about Rey's also. But the other thing that I have like a very deep nostalgic memory of is when all the toys for Shadows of the Empire came out and the huge aisle of them at Kmart in North Canton at the time. And I always had the memory of that in my head, and I never could remember where the store was. I just remembered seeing this massive thing, and then randomly in Walmart or Kmart the one day, I noticed where it was is like suitcases now, which is totally lame. Well, they're closed now, obviously, but I was just
farmer's market.
Yeah, right. But it was just like an aha moment for me. I was like, oh, this is where that memory is. So it was so cool.
Love it when that happens. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Really excited to see what happens in episode 2 here, because we got a short series, 7 episodes, 6 left to go. And yeah, so make sure you tune in next week right here, 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, Showboys Podcast, for our breakdown, recap, and us just nerding out over the latest episode of the book Boba Fett. If you want to get even more in the weeds with the series and conversations, make sure you check out our Discord, which the link should be in our episode description. If you're listening on audio or Twitter, which doesn't have episode descriptions, you can visit our link tree at linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. We have a channel in the Discord dedicated solely to the Book of Boba Fett companion series. So it's a great place to just go in there, dump all of your spoiler-filled talk about the series and what we're talking about on the podcast here. We always have fun conversations about all kinds of various nerd topics there in the Discords. So, sorry, fighting off the hiccups. I don't know why every time I try to do an outro, I get the hiccups.
It's so bizarre. Timing.
Yeah, check out our Discord. A lot of cool people there. It's a great way to get to know us a little better and communicate and engage with us, as well as some of our other lovely listeners. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/showboyspodcast. We would love your support. Hopefully we were able to earn it. If you feel like supporting the podcast financially, you can check out the Patreon. We have 4 different tiers, different price points, a lot of perks and rewards, including bonus monthly Patreon episodes, exclusive Discord channels, voting on and recommending episode topics. There's a whole slew of things. Go over there, check it out. A lot of fun stuff. If you're not able to support us financially, we're glad that you're here listening, watching. Please consider subscribing and following us on whatever you consume our content on. And lastly, we do have a merch store. Link is in the episode description and on our link tree. Go check it out. Get some Showboys swag. In the meantime, again, thank you, SJT, for letting us use your your Boba Fett theme remix. We're going to play you out. Enjoy the full version. It's so epic. If you have headphones with great bass, I must recommend this song. Slaps pretty hard here in the Crushers. But yeah, turn up those speakers and enjoy the Book of Boba Fett theme remix. We will see you next Sunday.
Hit it.